So I'm here with Andrea Harrn at the Clop Hill Summer Gathering, and Andrea is a psychotherapist, and she's developed a card set to do with moods and emotions. So welcome, Andrea, and
Thank you, Christian.
would you tell us a little bit about your work and your
Sure.
background and how these came about?
I'll tell you about how the cards came about.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a psychotherapist, and I've been working for many years with clients for all sorts of problems and issues, and couples and teenagers. And what I found was that there are times when people just weren't able to name. They didn't have the emotional vocabulary to name which emotion they felt. So they might just say, I just feel bad, or I feel terrible. And I would try to help them to find out which emotion it was. Is it sadness, or is it depression, or is it hurt or disappointment, perhaps? And I was looking for some images to show the different emotions, and I had a very scruffy piece of paper that I'd been given back at university, and it was just it was an A4 sheet of paper with some little faces which now look like the emoticons that we see.
Right.
But I'm going back 6 years, so this was before emoticons. And I kept thinking there must be something better that I can find to have in my therapy room, and there wasn't anything. So I thought there should be something that I can create, or even buy. I was looking for something to buy, in fact, but there was nothing available to buy. And so the idea, this was a seed in my mind that I was thinking I would love this for my therapy room.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, let me just create it for myself for the therapy room. So it started with an idea that I was going to create for myself, so I could use it with my clients. And I found, I looked for an artist to work with on the images. I'm not an artist. But I knew what I wanted. I knew the sort of thing I wanted. I had it in my mind that I wanted very simple images, because I wanted something that people could immediately relate to. So I didn't want to make them too complicated.
Yeah.
I wanted to keep it really simple and accessible. And I found eventually, after looking for an artist, I did find a very lovely artist, Stacey Siddons, and she's the artist on the mood cards, and we worked together on the cards. And it was very good because she was quite in tune with what I wanted.
Yeah.
So that's how the idea developed, really, from wanting a set of images. But the more that I worked on them, I realised that I couldn't. It was really hard to actually create because each image was such a journey for me. I couldn't just tell her what the image needed to look like. I had to go through that emotion myself.
Yeah, of course.
To be able to feel what that felt like. So, for example, I had to go through a day of, maybe a time of disappointment myself, and then I knew what disappointment felt like, and I knew where I would feel that in the body.
Yeah.
And then, another time I might feel really, happy and joyful.
Yeah.
And I knew what joyful felt like, and I knew it was coming from there, and the colours and everything. So it was, it was a real personal journey, actually, creating the images, because each image to me had to reflect where the emotion is felt in the body, and I related that to the chakra systems as well.
Yeah.
So, for example, when you feel choked up and hurt and disappointed and maybe resentful, it's held in there because you can't get the words out. So that connects to the blue, the throat chakra. So those colours were coming to me that they should be blue colours, but maybe murkier blue than a bright blue that felt, more than a calm blue, more of a murky blue, because there's gunge in there that needs to be set.
All the overlays of people's stuff.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So,
come in. No.
Hello. We're going to start at 5 now.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. No, not yet. It's not 5.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Come at 5.
Okay.
Sorry, we just got a bit delayed because we couldn't get in the room before. So we're going to start at 5. Look forward to seeing you then.
What's that? They're knocking on the door to tell us the time.
Do you think this is going to work now?
Yeah, it's going well. Yeah,
okay,
yeah. We'll see
Okay.
if it doesn't feel right
Maybe do
in
it.
the edit. We can redo it
Okay.
another time.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
okay,
So it was
where were we?
really about connecting into the colours of where the emotions
Okay,
are
let's
felt.
start on a clean. So we're going
Mm.
back to with the colours and
Yeah.
pause and
Yeah, and so I had to experience all of those emotions myself to be able to work with the colours that were needed for the fronts of the cards. So
yeah,
the fronts of the cards are really based on, I mean, I've based them on the idea of mindfulness, because the concept of mindfulness is being present
yeah.
to how you feel. So the fronts of the cards very much to connect with the image on the front of the card is very much connect with this is me now. This is where I am. I'm hurt, or I'm angry, or I'm happy, or whatever it is. But to connect with the colours, and in doing so, and connecting with that, there's a transformational. In my view, there is a transformational process in being able to connect to how you feel, and just in that moment of connection, there will be a transformation at some level. And a deeper understanding.
So really, these cards are a kind of tool to make it a gentle entry or transition into people's inner worlds. Is that how you might describe it?
Yes. Well, originally it was going to be just for my therapy room, but as the idea developed, I thought, well, you know, perhaps other people can benefit from this as well. And then I just sat with that for a while, and waited for the right.
Inspiration.
The right inspiration to come, and then when it did, it was really strong, and I thought, well, look, Andrea, you're a therapist. Go therap outside. Bring this outside, because working one-to-one with clients is lovely and amazing, and I love my work. But at the same time, I think that actually what we do as therapists is it's a process that we can all do for ourselves, you see. I believe that. I do believe that we can all do that for ourselves. And I started to think about all the people that can't access mental health services. I'm thinking, in the UK specifically, but, everywhere really, in the UK and I guess in other countries as well. It's quite hard to access mental health services. So I was thinking, well, what is it that we do as therapists? Well, what we do is we help people to explore their moods and emotions. We help people to think about how they feel, to look at how they're feeling, to understand why they're feeling that way, and then maybe make some links and perhaps look at how can I move forward now. So as an integrative therapist, I thought, well, I'm going to bring some questions and using CBT actually, this model of cognitive therapy, cognitive behavioural therapy, because that is a very logical, and it's quite a good way for people to be able to think things through and to think about making changes. Especially in regard to the way that people think about things, because a lot of the way that people feel is because of the way they think.
Sure.
So the idea was to bring questions into the back of each card to help people to look at their thoughts and to look at whether their thoughts are helpful thoughts or unhelpful thoughts.
Right.
So I then brought questions into the back of each card. So there's 3 questions on the back of every card, which are based on cognitive therapy. And those cards are to enable people to explore the emotions, to look deeper, to think about what they are, and then to look deeper at, well, why do I feel this way? What's happened, or what's going on for me? And then to think about moving forward on that and taking some action to make things different if they want to. It could be about making things even better, but it might be about changing something. For example, it might be about letting go of a resentment, because the questions will help people to actually identify where their thinking is unhelpful to them and what they can actually do to let it go.
Could you show us a card? Give us an example of a typical mood and the question behind it.
Well, do you want to just pick one, Christian?
Okay.
This is a good way to use them.
I'm being put on the spot here. I'm being theraped.
To shuffle.
I didn't expect this, but let's see
fact,
what comes up. Oh my
shuffle.
God.
You
Okay,
can shuffle.
shuffle.
Have a shuffle and
So
see what
I'm
comes
having a
up.
shuffle here of the mood
Yeah.
card. You see, they're absolutely gorgeous. And okay, lots of smiley faces, unhappy, strange faces. Okay, and I just
just choose one.
just choose
pull
one
one out.
random, or look at them to choose them.
It's either you can choose one that you want to work with,
I think that's.
or you can
let's
see what you get.
See how I'm feeling today.
Yeah.
Oh, actually. Oh God, I think I've felt just about all these emotions today, and smiley one,
Yeah.
bemused.
Well, that's the whole thing, is that emotions are transitory anyway.
I like this
they
one.
don't
Bring it
last.
on.
Yeah,
Here we go.
hopeful.
Bring it on,
Okay.
and
So we'll work with that one.
we'll work with that one.
Okay, so
Okay.
would you like me to work with you with this card?
Yes,
Christian?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you want to
okay.
hold the card and tell me how you just hold the card for a moment and see what comes up for you when you look at that image and look at the colours on the card?
Well, I'm getting a kind of a mixture of, hope, and I know it says hopeful at the bottom of the card, but there's kind of a hope smile to the face, but it's not, it's a little bit of reservation in it, so
Okay.
it's not full on, it's hope with a little bit of question mark to me. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, right. So should we look at the questions? Would you like to look at the questions?
So
the first question is, what are you hopeful about?
Oh, I'm hopeful about the future of the work I am doing with the House Whispering and the TV program, and I can see how it can really expand around the world through media and help raise people's awareness of our relationship to home, to where we live. Yeah.
Okay, great. And so, obviously, when you're using these cards, if we have more and more time, I would expand with you on all of that. But I'm just going to move on to the next question with you now, because I think this will be relevant anyway.
Oh dear.
Oh
dear, here we go.
So, what do you see for yourself how do you see this developing in the future? This idea of yours of bringing a wider audience to the House Whisperer and the work that you're doing. Maybe looking in 5 years, what do you see in 5 years?
I see the concept of house whispering in looking at our inner house and how we relate to our outer house where we live, to become a common kind of awareness in people, so that we can really look at who we are and what our journey is, and actually ultimately take responsibility for our life, for our journey, which is all the house can actually show us. It's a great mirror to show us that.
Because you work with the houses.
Yeah,
the mirror.
absolutely.
But what about for you, Christian, for you personally? Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
I see myself still working with this in various ways worldwide, as I am doing now in consultations. I see myself very much on screen because I love the camera, and I love working with video and with people. Obviously,
And you feel
that's
that.
my work.
I
feel that, absolutely.
That's something you can be hopeful about.
Yeah.
So the third question, Christian, is what are the steps that you need to take to achieve that?
Oh.
Perhaps you might want to give me 3 steps.
3 steps.
3 steps.
Part of it is the clarity of pulling together all the information and knowledge that up to date that I have gathered and worked with, because there are so many concepts and ideas and ways of expressing this and ways of putting it to film, to video, that I need to narrow it down to what we call the format in film terms, in media terms, to actually get a really clear framework of...
So it's pulling the information together.
Pulling the information into a framework that is interesting to watch, obviously, for people on television or media, but at the same time contain the content and the integrity of the
Sure.
work. Yeah.
Okay, so you've given me one step.
Okay.
And so if these cards are being used in a session with clients or with a friend or with your daughter or husband,
Yeah.
you can expand on the questions. The questions are guidelines
Yes.
to further inquiry.
Okay.
So
I have to say here, I do feel I'm in a therapy session now. It's getting deeper and deeper. So I'm sure the tape is going to run out soon. So we're going to have to finish this. But
at the back of each card is an affirmation.
okay.
And what I found was I think affirmations are great. I love affirmations. An affirmation is a positive statement that you can say about yourself. It's something that can reinforce and embed within you a positive message to help you to, live your life or whatever it is you want to do.
Okay. Sure.
It can help you to feel a lot better and stronger.
Yeah.
But if you don't believe the affirmations, it's very difficult. And I found as working in therapy that people would come along and say, I'm using affirmation cards, I'm looking in the mirror every day and telling myself I love myself absolutely and completely and I'm beautiful. Yeah. And they would say, but I really don't like myself that much.
But they don't believe it.
They don't believe it. So if you don't believe it, it doesn't work. Yeah. So I thought to bring an affirmation, but the affirmation is specific to each emotion.
Okay.
But the affirmation comes at the bottom of the card.
Right.
And it's after you've done some of the work.
Okay.
You see, so, and hopefully by the time you get to the affirmation, the affirmation will be more believable.
It will feel real.
It will feel real. Yeah.
Okay.
So would you like to look at the affirmation on
I do.
on being hopeful?
Shall I read this out?
Yeah, you can read it out.
I am optimistic about the future. I have faith that all will be well and as it should be. Now that's...
does that sit right with you?
It does, and that's lovely because that does allow or actually imply a trust in the universe and a much bigger picture that is working with us and working with me and actually getting this program out in the way I see it at the moment. It may be in a different way, but I'm open at the moment to,
Optimistic.
Optimistic, yeah, and I can feel that. Absolutely, yeah. How interesting, yeah. Now, what is fascinating, and I'm sure people would love to know this, that I chose that particular card. Now, why? Why now would I have chosen that particular card out of all the mood cards? How does that work?
Well, I mean, there's different ways to use the cards, and since the cards have been published back in April, and I've been running a few workshops so far, I'm really fascinated with the way they're being used, because people are using. Some people are dealing them out, dealing them out, and then having piles of 3 and then just seeing what they get. So they're seeing, what comes to them. Other people are just picking a card blindly and working with the card that they get. Or people can, if you have your own, if somebody had their own pack of cards, they might just use the cards if they're feeling a certain way. For example, if somebody was feeling quite hurt, they might want to work with the hurt card to help themselves explore the hurt that's within themselves. So it's really up to
But when I chose that card, the hopeful, the bring it on, I chose it by the image, not by reading the words, and yet it perfectly described where I'm at now. So what is it in the emotion? How did you come to draw that, get your artist to draw that to trigger off? What attracted me to this moment
I suppose
now?
it's an intuitive process.
Yeah.
It's been an intuitive process the whole of the creation of the cards has been an intuitive process actually.
So did you draw that and feel what I would have felt just now? Is that
really
how you
tuned
developed
in because
them?
when I created the cards, I had the images, so I have this card there, and I would sit there at home and I would put that little card there. It might sound a bit silly really, But I talk to that card.
Yeah.
I talk to the card.
Well, look, I mean, I talk to houses.
I don't feel so bad. I talk to the card as if it was
So
a little
we
client.
both lost it a little bit.
I've had so many of these. I've had 42 to talk to. 42 little faces, and I've talked to those cards, and I've had to talk to them to understand what they needed.
Yeah.
And that's how the colours have developed and how the questions have developed, because I've talked to the cards, and I've needed to know what you hope, what are you hopeful about, and how can I work with you, and with some of the more negative emotions, it's been quite hard because they felt so real to me. Those little faces
so have
felt
they
so real.
talked back?
Yeah,
and told
they've
you
told me what
to adjust and the words
all the time,
on the back?
all the time.
And,
I've had to get it right. I've had to make so many amends on the cards.
And has it brought stuff up in your own life that you've had to maybe look at another level of your own? Are the cards psychotherapying you
Well,
in a
me.
sense?
This is my journey.
Did you?
They all reflect me at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've all been me.
Yeah.
I've been there with everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
And some of the hardest things that you go through in life, they're your lessons, aren't they?
Sure.
You learn from them. So,
absolutely.
and sometimes when I was writing, I wasn't able to write. Sometimes for weeks on end. And then one day it would all happen. Something would go wrong, or
just levels of processing of your own.
Perhaps if something went wrong, I'd have a really bad day, and then say, I know what anger feels like. And then because the cards validate. What the cards do is they're validating the emotion, because it's no good when somebody tells you, you feel really bad, and someone says, "Oh, darling, it's fine, don't worry about it," or. It's all meant to be. Well, we all know it's meant to be, but if you feel angry, that's not a helpful response.
No.
So what these cards do is they validate the emotion to the person that's holding the emotion. So it gives a mirror. It's like holding a mirror to yourself, and it validates who you are. And that's how the process works.
Absolutely.
And it moves like that. So
but it's very much in the way working with a house. The house is actually reflecting the person's in a house and actually showing you the possibilities and the potentials. But you still have to make the moves and take the responsibility and make the changes. So there's a kind of parallel here, isn't there?
There is. It's been quite a journey for me to make the cards. And then, as the idea developed, I began to think about the idea of, helping people to become more empathic by using the cards as well. Because what I realised was, once people start to use the cards, doesn't have to be therapists, obviously, using the cards, can be anyone. But as soon as the people start to use the cards with each other, what opens up is this empathy and this heart space where people can actually hear another human in dialogue, about having conversations that you wouldn't normally have. And interestingly, the feedback has been the cards. The card asks the question. So where a person might not feel comfortable to ask a question, actually using the cards gives permission to ask a question. Let's look at a negative one here. This is a hate card. What does hate feel like? Would we ask that sort of question to somebody normally?
Well, you or I probably would.
But
We
might.
no.
What does hate feel like?
It's
a question that actually it feels horrible, doesn't it? But we wouldn't necessarily ask that question.
So it's giving permission.
It gives permission
it's
to
a
ask.
stepping stone.
So the cards open up communication channels. They open up empathy. They open up awareness, and they develop emotional intelligence and give an understanding and an intelligence to what's going on within us, in our emotions, in our hearts, in our minds, and in our bodies, in our souls, because we feel in the body too. So it gives an understanding, and I believe that emotional intelligence comes from connecting with our emotions as a therapist, and that's how I believe we will become as a human race. we will become more intelligent by getting in touch with who we are.
Yeah, absolutely.
And listening to other people about how they are.
Yeah.
And I hope and I really hope and believe that I want these cards to get to where they can be used in needed and put to the best use. And I hope that by using the cards, people will learn more about themselves, and in that process will become happier and calmer within, because they will become more accepting of themselves and all of their emotions and behaviours. And in doing so, feeling calm will help them to radiate an energy and an aura of calmness and acceptance and love. And in doing that, when they meet other people, that will reflect, and it will be the ripple effect.
Yeah.
So that's my wider hope for the cards.
Wonderful. That is fantastic. I think the work is really super, Andrea, and I wish you very well with it. And if you want to know where to get a set of cards, all the information is on the website here below. And
they've already been sold. I'm just quite amazed at how they're.
Actually, let's start that one again. So, ending take 2. So how are the cards going with the distribution?
Yeah, they're very well. I've got a lovely publishing company I'm working with, Connections Publishing, who really totally get what this is about. They understand it, and they are working to help.
And it's actually worldwide at the moment, the distribution, which is
worldwide,
wonderful.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
It's excellent. So I'm working on box 2.
On box 2?
Can I just tell you, box 2 is going to be more complex moods and emotions.
Oh dear.
So this is your everyday basic starter set. Box 2 will be there's going to be more complex emotions in there.
Okay.
Perhaps emotions and issues that I see in the therapy room. Issues like addiction and bipolar and borderline and passive-aggressive behaviours and limerence and OCD, obsessive-compulsive disorder.
Sure.
Because I want to demystify mental illness as well. I think, let's demystify it.
Yeah.
We all have a bit of it, don't we?
So you're kind of making all this complex.
I want to demystify complex into accessible.
Accessibility for
everybody. That nobody needs to feel bad about what they're going through or how they feel, because we all go through things, and I don't think anyone's going to go through life without experiencing the dark times as well as the good times. And I wish the good, happiness and love on everyone.
That's such a wonderful vision, and we'll look forward to seeing the second level of cards.
Thank you, Christian. Thank you
it's
very
wonderful.
much.
Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you so much.
So for more information on Andrea's cards, all the information is here below, and do get in touch with her. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.